And then when we finally got cut loose on our own, we started noticing that the tools that we had were doing some really interesting things that wasn't going on during our training.
And they weren't in our
Really?
hands.
Yeah, and these are, we put them in the guest's hands. We're not
Yeah.
holding these things. We're letting the guest hold them. And then what we started to figure out is, with Ty here, is that things seem to be attracted to her.
Well, hey everybody, welcome back.
Hey everyone.
I'm Logan.
And I'm Nicole.
And this is Generation X Paranormal. Just recently I saw that the new Dexter is coming out.
Mm-hmm.
So guys, we're huge Dexter fans. And so I just saw that that Dexter's still alive. I mean, how's he still alive? Didn't he get shot?
He's Dexter.
Anyway, guys, listen, we got a good show. We have some folks that are out in Savannah, Georgia, place that we've been, and we really enjoy it.
Yeah, Savannah's awesome.
It's beautiful, and they've got a tour. They do a ghost tour, but it's a little bit different than what you're probably used to seeing. And we're going to talk to Mike and Ty Defore. Mm-hmm. What can you tell us about them?
So Mike and Ty Defore are a married couple from Savannah, Georgia. They have recently started their own paranormal walking ghost tour in Savannah, Georgia, called XPerience with a big X.
Like us.
Yeah, big X. To share these experiences with others, they also conduct investigations to assist people who are having difficult times with their paranormal activity. And they have recently joined with Living with the Paranormal.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'm going to read you their little thing for their walking ghost tour because it's really cool.
Cool.
So, you go to their webpage and you click on that and you're interested in the ghost tour. This is what you would read.
Okay.
It says, join us as we guide you through the streets of Savannah, not only sharing our rich history and fascinating folklore, but actually attempting to communicate with the multiple Savannian spirits, I love that, that are in abundance in one of America's most haunted cities. Paranormal equipment will be supplied. We limit the number of guests on our tour and only offer one tour a night to ensure that our guests have ample time to have a personal experience with our intuitive guides as well as the numerous spirits of Savannah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'd join immediately. Yeah. It's awesome.
Count us in.
Mm-hmm.
Well, listen, let's get to talking to them.
Let's talk to Mike and Ty.
Well, hey, Mike. Hey, Ty. How you doing?
Hey. Thank y'all for having us.
Yes,
of course.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Welcome to Generation X Paranormal, a little corner of the world here. We've been excited to have you on, and we talked a little bit briefly when we first got on that we apologize it took a little while, but we're happy to have you on. We've had some folks on in the past, and we've actually worked with a few that do tours, but none necessarily quite how you guys do them, and we're very interested to get started with that. But kind of before we dive into the proverbial well, tell us a little bit about yourselves. I mean, if you guys want to talk about yourselves separately or just kind of, where did this all start?
Well, where it starts, I'll let Ty start with because she has an interesting beginning. So you tell me a little bit about your background, please.
I was born quite prematurely. So when I was born, I was actually baptized and given my last rites all at birth. I wasn't supposed to make it. So a lot of people believe the veil between the living and the dead has always been quite thin for me. Some people call me clairvoyant. Some people call me a beacon. But basically, spirits are drawn to me and I'm drawn to them. I first married about 4 years of age, Tucson, Arizona, going down for a nap time and seeing shadow people come towards me, not one or two, but dozens of them.
Awesome.
I knew stuff about ancestors that I never should have known about, where we were at, how to get there, stuff like that. So I've just always been drawn to the spiritual world.
Awesome. You said the magical word. Hey, what's the name of your dog?
This is Bob. We
Bob.
spell his name
Hi, Bob.
backwards. Yeah, it's little B, little O, big B, but this is Bob.
Nice.
That's
Are you
awesome.
familiar with the punk rock band NoFX?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I got a name who Bob who pisses on my floor. That's where you get his name from.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you guys are listening on the podcast, their dog has made a wonderful appearance. Gorgeous dog.
Very cute.
Ty, you said something that that has made you one of my favorite people so far. I am from Tucson, so
Wow.
kind of a small world. Well, I was born in Douglas and raised in Tucson, but yeah, talk about small world. Okay, so that's quite a breadth of experience. Was there anything else that that kind of, I guess, kind of opened that door, the prying open the third eye, aside from just obviously in the beginning, but was there anything later in life that kind of changed things?
Well, I mean, honestly, my grandparents, I was raised by my grandparents. They're Native American as well as Mexican descent. And they never said, when I saw something in the corner of my eye, they never said there's no such thing as ghosts. They never ever corrected that. So I always felt like that was never closed, because the more somebody tells you there's no such thing, the tendency you tend to ignore stuff. Well, I was never taught that. So I went on and on for years like that. I was married prior to Michael, and my first husband, when he passed away, that was the first time everything went silent for me. Like, I didn't see nothing, I didn't smell nothing, I didn't taste nothing. Usually those are how, the spirit world communicates with me, is via taste and smells. If they can't show me them, they'll give me the taste and smell.
Gotcha.
That was the first time it was totally nothing, void, for about a full year. And then as I as I went through the grieving and started healing, then the gifts started slowly coming back up. But when I married my lovely husband, they definitely went high. Like, really, they revved up quite a bit.
Yeah, a little bit about my background. I am a former pastor, and I'd actually lost my faith. Now, when I was a pastor, I did have instances where I had church members that would have some paranormal things going on. And I believe that all those were demonic in nature. And so we did take care of those things. It's only happened a few times over the course of 8 years. But those are things that did crop up during those times. But I'd actually lost my faith, you could say. I wouldn't say I lost my faith. I just, I got angry with God. And so I turned my back on the church and religion and all that. And that's the kind of state I was in when I met Ty. And she's always been a good Catholic girl. So, but we got from the very moment we said I do, things just started going crazy.
Yes.
But as soon as our wedding was over and we walked into our home, we were living on Tybee Island at the time. When we walked through the door, we felt something enter the house with us.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, and that started a couple of years of what we know to be now demonic activity. And so we went through quite a situation there.
Yes, we did.
Yes.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
There were things such as, well, it started off, with the normal infestation sort. Well, I didn't know about the infestation and all the ways it goes through it at that time, but I do know it well now because I lived through it. There's the infestation phase where there was the scratches and the knocks and that sort of thing. And to the point where I would, go out and check to make sure there wasn't a raccoon or something coming trying to scrape through the wall. That's how.
Sure.
I don't know how many times we moved the fridge and a stove.
Yeah, just to try to figure out maybe there was a rat or whatever, but we never could find anything.
Yeah.
And then it started ramping up from there. Some of the experiences we had, this was over a course of 2 years, and this is also during the COVID period.
Okay.
So we were all
familiar with it.
Yeah. But some of the major things that stand out is, one, we had a candle we had burned. It completely burned out, nothing left in it. Put it in the trash can. It had been in the trash can for over 24 hours, and it exploded. And I don't mean it cracked. I mean it exploded so hard it blew glass all the way across the room.
Oh my gosh.
There was another instance. We were sitting on the couch watching television, and we started hearing this sound. And it sounded literally like an airplane was about to land on our house. And it got louder and louder. And then when it did sound like it was actually, we had jumped off the couch and was like going, what in the world's going on, but this sound came through the house, and when it did, it made a wah down, kind of a low guttural noise, and then back up again. And when it did that, the lights didn't just flicker; the lights actually went down and back up with that sound. So that was
That's
pretty.
interesting.
Yeah, that
That
was
was.
yeah. Another time
We
we
had the
were
odd smells.
yeah, odd smells. But something else that really stands out is we were sitting on the couch again watching television. COVID, a lot of people did that. That's what you
Yes.
did. But we started hearing some wind chimes. But we live at the beach. Wind chimes. Everybody has wind chimes. No big deal.
Mhm.
But these wind chimes started to get extremely loud, and then it sounded like it literally encompassed our entire property, and it
Wow.
literally got so loud we had to cover our ears.
And this was
Wow.
not a large property. We
No, yeah.
lived in a little 460 square feet little shack of a house. I mean, we loved it, but it
Yeah.
was quite small. And I mean, we had the oddest things. My hairbrush, I don't take it outside, and we had a common area for
Mhm.
the complex we lived in, and I would find my hairbrush outside. It was the oddest things. He would hear me calling him and think he saw me, and I wasn't even in the bathroom with him.
Mm.
It was just really, really odd. And what was weird for me was we weren't getting along. But as soon as we left the house, everything was peaceful. But as
Interesting.
soon as we walked back into the house, we couldn't. We just couldn't get along.
Of course, that
Yeah.
was the oppression phase of
Sure.
Yeah.
things.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I started getting into a deep state of depression, and and I
Mhm.
was angry with myself and everyone,
Yeah.
and so the oppression phase kicked in, and it stuck around for a while.
Mhm.
Right.
And things, I mean, it's just literally like movie quality things where I can say, well, we had a television program come and film with us, but they don't want us to say who they are until the show comes out.
Mhm.
For their whole idea, their thinking behind that is they want people to think everything's fresh. It's like, well, it's
Right.
a
Yeah.
story from 5 years ago, so how fresh
Mhm.
could it be? But anyway,
Yeah.
That's true.
Movie
but
magic.
they came in and they filmed with us about all this. And so just the things that happened, just really, I went from thinking that most of the paranormal activity was either angelic or demonic in nature to
Mhm.
going, hey, there's demon activity here. But it was through this time that we also started to connect with other human spirits.
Right.
A case in point is that I got to the point where I was just done. I mean, with
Mhm.
life and everything. And I was just at the lowest point. I mean, I probably was right on the point of possession because they were beating me down to
Yeah.
get me
Mhm.
to that point of possession. And right when I hit that point where I had to make a decision, just let go and let this thing do what it want to, or fight back. My mother, who has passed away some years ago,
Mhm.
actually came to me and said, "Get up and fight, son."
Yeah.
And I got up, and it was right after that I literally saw the demon.
Really?
And people talk
Mm.
about, gargoyle looking things and whatnot. That's not what I saw at all.
Horns and tails.
Yeah, I didn't see
Yeah.
that. What I saw, you know what a golem is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, it looked like a gold golem with these
Okay.
Okay.
eyes. Hard to explain the eyes. The eyes were just hypnotizing. I mean, and to see it was just terrifying.
Mm.
It didn't. Its actual physical being wasn't that terrifying, but the feeling it gave you
The
by
feeling.
seeing
Sure.
laying eyes on it,
Yeah.
Mhm.
it put me into a state of shock.
Yeah.
And when
That
that
makes
happened,
sense.
well, Ty realized what was going on, and she came over to me, and she literally took her a while, but she pulled me out of it. And it was at that point that we connected, and we said, I guess we were in some type of denial about things or whatever. But when
Yeah.
that happened, we both said, okay, let's get rid of this thing.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Now, if you watch TV show, they're gonna like we did it that same night, but it literally took a month after that
Uh-huh.
to get
Yeah.
rid of this
Yeah.
thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
because we started doing things like connecting one together again. I started regaining my faith. Um,
Mhm.
we did things like we took communion together. We started doing these sort of things to build up our spiritual life, and then we did go through and command for the spirit to leave and cleanse the house. And that's when we finally got rid of it. And then we moved to our family home not long after that. So we actually left that property. But since then, what I've learned through her is that, the demons are no fun, but the human spirits, there's really not a lot of fear in
Right.
Right.
those. And through
Right.
her, I've learned that, life with her is interesting. I'll say that.
I'm sure.
Yeah, that's it. What's funny is that I guess funny, not funny, but I have some of the very same heritage you have, Ty, and I think Nicole would agree that living with a half native, half well, on my mom's side, I'm Scottish, Scottish and Swedish, but I think the attitude definitely comes from my native side.
Yes.
But
It does.
so what do you, and Ty, I guess maybe if you don't mind answering this, and I'm going to touch a little bit about what Mike said when you first met and things started ramping up. I know you guys both mentioned that. What do you feel, or what do you attest that to being? What do you think caused that?
Honestly, because I was madly, deeply in love with Mike, but he had no faith, and I still want to marry him, and that's a very dangerous road. If somebody doesn't have faith and you do, it can, like the Bible says, if you're not equally yoked, there's there can be some issues. You should marry someone that's equally yoked to you. I think that's what it was. He used to be a preacher, and he left his faith. I mean, what else? I mean, that would be any archy of a demon's goal, is to keep somebody away from God.
Absolutely.
So having his life, someone that truly has faith, and I want to marry this man.
Right.
So now we're going to be tied as one. So of course I'm going to tug more on him about his faith, about why he left the church, what happened, and all that. So I think that's kind of
kind of like the fuel of it. Sure. Yeah, that makes really good sense.
It's pretty terrifying.
It is very terrifying. We've definitely. It's funny. We just recently spoke with a demon seer, which that's a whole nother level of paranormal that I had never really messed with before. So
I am curious though, Mike. You talked about the eyes. Was there a certain color of the eyes that you saw?
No.
No. Okay.
It was more, I guess, electrical. I guess be the best way to describe it. It's really, I say golem and I say these things, but the actual description is hard to verbalize for me.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
The way
I
he
get you.
kind of explained it to me when it happened was, do you remember those electrical charge things that we had like in the 80s and you could touch it?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
The little Tesla things.
It was kind of like that, but full of like silverly glitter in it as well. There was like all kinds of like bright gold, silver glitter that was like in it, but it was also shocking. So those glitters would get brighter, and so it was
weird.
Yeah, it is weird.
Wow. Like energy.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like to me for sure. Yeah, well, kind of leading into kind of what we started to talk about, what we brought you on, and why you want to be here, of course. Let's how did that pivot into kind of what you guys do now with the tours?
Well, after that, we COVID was still going on, and we needed to make some money. And I was just looking on Facebook, and I saw that a ghost tour company was hiring. And I was like, well, that would be fun. You go out a couple hours a night, go on a tour. So we decided, hey, let's just do this.
No, he decided, and I ended up. We are one.
Yes, we are. Yeah, you get us both. That's what you get.
That's right.
But we started working for this company, and they had the rods and the EMF meters and whatnot. And we, went through a training process where we followed them around, and it was good. We learned the stories and whatnot.
Sure.
And then we finally got cut loose on our own. We started noticing that the tools that we had were doing some really interesting things that wasn't going on during our training.
And they weren't in our hands.
Yeah, and we put them in the guest hands. We're not holding these things. We're letting the guest hold them. And then what we started to figure out is, with Ty here, is that things seem to be attracted to her. And as we go around to these places, we started to learn the different spirits at the different locations and start developing friendships with these spirits. And through that, we trust them, they trust us. And now, on the tour, I say we get interesting interactions, but I'm real quick to let people know when I say interesting, I mean, oh, that's a ghost. But
That's interesting.
interactions on our tours.
Right.
The rods just do things that, one of the coolest things that happens on our tour when it does occur. I mean, we can't guarantee interaction. These are
Mhm.
human spirits. They might not be present at that time. They might,
Right.
not want to be bothered.
Mhm.
But we can't say that every tour we've done so far today, at least in one or two locations, we'll get some very interesting interactions. But one of the things that we've learned that a couple of spirits like to do in some locations is we'll ask them to point at a certain person in the group
Hmm.
and ask the spirit to turn all the rods to that one person. And to this day, I see it all the time, but still, it just blows me away when I see 10 pair of rods all turn to the one person that you asked for. You can see maybe one or two persons might be goofing off or anything,
Mhm.
but 10 people is not just going to play along like that, especially when you got people
No.
saying that they're skeptical to begin with.
Yes.
And so,
Exactly. Exactly.
we see things like that. It's just really neat. It's
That
just
is really cool.
Yeah,
what
it's funny.
we're doing is helping people kind of understand that there is a whole other world out there, and it's
Mhm.
nothing to be afraid of. Of course,
Exactly.
you're with
Exactly.
demons, but
Well,
human,
yeah, that can be frightening, but yeah.
but the
It's better
human,
to teach them than to let them do it on their own and learn
yes,
the wrong way. Yeah.
yes, exactly.
That's
Mhm.
definitely
Mhm.
right.
What's interesting is that we just recently came back from well, I would say just recently, but within the last, I guess,
Couple
a couple months,
Yeah.
and we have a pretty good set of I was gonna say the word dowsing rods. I had totally botched that on a show not that long ago, and I called them
Diving
diving
rods.
rods or something.
I mean,
So we had our I don't know what I was saying, but divining rods. So we had our dowsing rods with us, and um, what's funny is most of my family, including myself, for the most part, are pretty skeptical. For the most part, I think out of the two of us, I'm the more skeptical.
Mhm.
So it's not that I don't believe. I'm constantly trying to put it up against certain rationale and anything. Anyway,
Sure.
long story short, most of my family's like that, and that's who we're out visiting. And we gave the dowsing rods to our nephews, and of course, being young, they're like, "Well, I don't believe in any of this stuff." And he actually, I won't say his name, but he was holding the oldest of the two was holding the dowsing rods, and he would ask a question, and they legitimately would point at an individual, and his
Mhm.
face. I mean,
It scared him.
it scared him
Yeah.
absolutely,
Mhm.
and I knew
Mhm.
for a fact at that point, I'm like,
We
okay,
need stop.
yeah, we needed to stop, and I just find it. And I'm going to make this point because we have technical stuff. We do. I mean, we've got the EVP stuff. We've got, K2 meters. We've got
Mhm.
all the gadgets in the world. But it's amazing how just something as simple as dowsing rods and a pendulum do, out and about. I mean, these were around forever. So,
Mhm.
Right.
kind of
Well, that's
pivoting it.
just it. We're part of a paranormal team, and we have all the gadgets, REM
Yeah.
pods,
Yeah. Yeah.
all the rope lights. We got the latest and greatest and whatnot,
Exactly.
Mhm. Yep.
which is great on an inside investigation. But when
Exactly.
Mhm.
you're
Yeah.
out with a crowd of 10 people,
Mhm.
time to set up that sort of thing and explain how it works and that sort of thing. The rods are just perfect for that
Oh
sort of
yeah.
thing.
Absolutely.
Put it in
Absolutely.
their hands, so if
Mhm.
anything's going on, they realize they're the only ones doing
Yeah,
it.
they can't accidentally make the stuff go off or
Right.
Right.
walk
Right.
into
Yeah.
it easily
Or say, hey, maybe y'all doing something and pressing a button, setting it off. We
Yeah.
use EMF meters too, and I've heard people kind of say that it's like they're pressing a button somewhere. It's like,
Right.
That's funny.
I was so glad, like, when I checked you guys out, I'm like, this is awesome. Because a lot, we've been on multiple of these ghost tours
Mhm.
here in Missouri, and they're great because they give you history and they talk about all the sites but you just walk as a big group and you don't really get to experience anything most of
Mhm.
the time. So putting this in the hands of people and letting them actually see, and
yeah,
experience that interaction is just awesome, I think. So kudos to you guys. I think
thank
that's
you.
really
And
cool.
that was one of the
Mhm.
largest reasons why we stopped working for other companies. They did a great job,
Mhm.
Mhm.
but their
Yeah.
tour the amount of people they had on it was up to 30,
Yeah.
35.
30.
Yeah, and that's too many people.
Yeah, we limit
Agreed.
our group to 15. We don't put
You
over
know,
more than
I
15 people on our tour.
I
That's
hated
good.
when I moved here, and I did all the. I'm a historical fan. I love history,
Mhm.
and I'm architectural details. So I did all of the tours here in Savannah, and I felt like a number. Actually, I just felt like a dollar bill.
Yeah.
I didn't have nobody talk to me. I didn't have any. I'm trying to ask a question. I have to like scream, tap somebody down, and
Mhm.
I'm rather shy, and I don't have a loud, dominant voice. It's kind of squeaky.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I like the intimacy of our groups. I like
Yeah.
that I could talk to them, and that we could let them have, and we're on their time. So if they
Mhm.
if we're getting action and we're getting draws going and they want to stay someplace a little longer and they're overly excited, by all means, yes.
Yeah, that was one thing. It's working for other companies. They'd have like 2 tours scheduled in one
Mhm.
night. And, we'd be on our 8 o'clock tour, and we're having to hurry these people through to get to that 10 o'clock tour. So that's one of the things. We limit the number of people on the tour, and we also only offer 1 tour a night because we say we have a 2-hour tour, but we've yet to do a 2-hour tour. They usually about 2.5 hours, and then even more depending on filling out how much people want to continue with the
Right.
many
Exactly.
investigations we do because
And
we love it.
yeah.
We can
Yeah.
do it all night.
Especially if there's activity, it's really hard to walk away from activity.
Yes.
It's
Yes, it is.
you know,
Mhm.
we have some very close friends that we do some paranormal like investigations at a few of the notable things, and I think every time or the last time we were with them, I think we did so they did like a guided tour a little bit on the inside. It's an internal, so it's all inside buildings, but they kind of did the same thing a little bit what you guys do, a little bit of toured the campus and the area that we were at, and then there was like an hour or two of go investigate on your own. Well, an hour or two turns into 3 hours, turns into 4. Next thing you know, we're like, I'm exhausted. It has been hours and hours, but yeah, whenever you get that thrill, that rush, that's pretty hard to walk away from,
Mhm.
especially if it's
Yeah.
just a walking tour. So we talked a little bit about the dowsing rods, and you guys have some EMF detectors. Is there anything else that you guys take on the walking tour?
We do. We'll use the mag light on some places. We set
Mhm.
a mag light that's as a touch light. We use cat balls. We'll set some cat balls out. It's very rare they go off, and I explain to people as soon as I tell them how it works, and I set them up. And I said, if they go up, you're gonna watch a grown man just go totally bonkers over a lit up cat ball because it's rare that they go off. They do go off sometimes, but that really gets me going when they're set off.
Absolutely.
And we do take something else with us. Are you guys familiar with the Overnight on YouTube, the Overnight channel? They do paranormal
No.
I don't
investigations.
think so.
I don't think
No,
so. No.
Well, not this past Halloween, but Halloween last, they went to the Warren's Occult Museum. And
Oh,
they
okay.
did,
Oh,
they
I
did,
know. Yeah,
yeah,
they talked to Tony Spera. They did the thing with Tony Spera.
yeah.
And they were looking at
Oh,
Annabelle and all that.
okay,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah, I
okay.
Yeah,
remember
well, no,
that.
they actually spent 100 hours at the theater at the Cult Museum, and they
Right.
live streamed it the whole time. And they
Yep.
brought with them 666 Raggedy Ann dolls and put them in the
Oh my
occult.
goodness.
And so I did buy one of those from them. It's for charity, of course, right?
Sure.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
That's
well,
pretty
we
cool,
take that
though.
on tour because we do have on each one we offer 2 different tours, but on both tours there are a spot on each one where we do communicate with a little girl, and so I bring the doll out at that time to
Okay.
try to entice the little girls to come forward and to brag. Of course, I got a little Annabelle doll.
Of
So,
course, you
You
got to
have
do
to,
that. You
yeah,
got
I
to
mean-
use that.
Yeah.
Now when
I
you
mean-
pull the doll out, I have to get the girls to focus because they hyper focus on the doll.
on the doll, yeah,
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
I have to keep that in mind. We've got a Boo Bear that we're excited to get out there, and we every once in a while we'll see something that we just can't walk away from. We recently got a device that looks like a pack of cigarettes. So when you open it up, there's a sensor on the cigarette. It's a fake cigarette, of course. So like if you go to a prison or something like that, and you're offering a cigarette. I can't wait to see what kind of stuff comes out of it. Anyway, long story short, that looks cool.
No, I'm very interested in that. If you don't mind sharing with me,
I
Reed.
will.
Yeah,
But
well,
we do
I'll
have a
send you the
stop.
link. Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
We have a stop where one of the gentlemen there loves tobacco.
Then
Mm.
you need this device.
Yes, that
Yeah.
sounds like something perfect.
We'll talk after.
Yeah, we'll talk after.
Right.
Or I don't know, say him online, say him on your podcast here. Maybe they'll give you a discount. No.
Well, it's Ghost Stop, so yeah.
No, that's not where I get.
Oh, that wasn't where?
No, this is from an Etsy shop.
Oh, well, there you go.
Mhm.
Okay,
Oh,
well,
I'm like, I would go there without go.
Yeah, I had seen that on Ghost Stop. But yeah.
No,
so we get so many different things. I forget where they come from.
I'm on
but-
Etsy all the time. It's a problem.
Yeah, I just found it. I did most of my Christmas shopping on it. It kind of
Yep.
Yeah,
went a
too
little
easy to
bit-
do.
We're going to have me to somebody, the founder of our paranormal team just gave us this little fella right here.
Aw, a little sloth.
It's a
That's
real
cute.
sloth. Yeah.
That's so
Pretty
cute.
A
cute.
Boo Bear, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's awesome. So you take these people.
Sorry. There we go.
Oh, you're
No,
okay.
fine.
For us, it's so normal. We just keep.
Yeah, that's normal sounds right.
Yeah, it's just like home. So taking people out, how many? Okay, so I know you have to have a fair number of skeptics, and then you have a fair number of believers. I know it's probably really hard to kind of gauge how things go sometimes, depending on how people are reacting, and everybody brings something different to the table. So give us one of those moments where a skeptic became a believer pretty quickly.
Go ahead, baby.
Well, we do have people that do come on the tour, and we start off by asking people, we visit with them before we start the tour.
Yeah.
And we always ask, are you a believer or you're a skeptic? And if they're a skeptic, we say that's perfectly fine because, we're going to share the history, we're going to share the folklore. We just want to make sure you have a good time. We don't expect to make you a believer. We just want you to have a good time. And 9 times out of 10, these people, by the end of the tour, will say, well, I'm not going to say I 100% believe in ghosts now, but I'm a lot more leaning that way than I was at the beginning of the tour.
Right.
And we'll have people, of course, at the end of Ty opens up the session and then closes it down again at the end of the tour, and then offers a cleansing with some white sage. So anything connected, leave it
Absolutely.
here.
Right. Very good.
But it is good to see some people, she'll ask if they want a blessing. They'll say yes or no. And we've had people to refuse the blessing, get in the car, leave, come back around, get back out and go, no, I changed my mind. I think I'd come back.
Really? They thought about it for a second.
We see things like that.
Surprise.
It's pretty cool, and being we're a new company, we really, encourage our guests to write us Google reviews. And we have quite a few reviews that people said, I came on in a skeptic, but I left thinking that there may be ghosts in the world.
Oh,
and when I see that
wow.
sort of thing, man, that just makes us feel great.
That's awesome.
I bet.
And we was able
Yeah.
to share that experience with people.
Or when they
Right.
see the rods move for the first time,
Yeah.
and they
Mhm.
say some some words
Yeah.
that their
This-
children probably shouldn't be hearing.
This past week, we've had 2 different guests on 2 different tours. When the rods started at the first stop, both of them go, "Oh shit!"
Yep. I know
So
that feeling
those
well.
are the kind of things we live for.
Or the ones
Yes.
Oh
that,
yeah.
ones that are really scared and they decide to give us back the rods.
Oh yes. Now, and we,
Mhm.
more than the skeptic, we do have people that come on the tour,
And I feel bad for
and
those ones.
yeah, I do too. But it's like, did you read our description at all about what we're going
Oh,
to do?
yeah.
We said what
Yeah.
we're doing here,
Right.
but we do have people come on and they get a little afraid of the situation. I'll
Sure.
admit. And what we try to do is Ty puts extra protection around them, that sort of thing. And then, I kind of, during the course of the tour, make sure I'm in contact with communication with them, make sure they're
Good.
okay.
That's
But what
good.
I found with a lot of those instances is the people that came in that were afraid. Now, some of them may use the rods towards the end, but a majority of them towards the end of the tour go, okay, I can see where this is okay. And so we
Right.
took somebody that was frightened and lead them towards more, okay, this is okay what we're doing here.
Mhm.
We're not sitting here trying to have a seance or a Ouija board. This
Yeah,
is something
yeah.
totally different.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it all boils down, honestly, to just education about this whole world, because people like that are going off of TV shows and
Yeah.
movies, and they're expecting like a demon to pop up out, out of the ground or something
Yeah.
and attack them. And I think, for us, like, we've all had our personal experiences in life, and so we're kind of, I don't know, just
Desensitized.
desensitized. Yeah, and we
Yeah.
know it's not really going to get to that point, but for a lot of these people, this is their first,
Right.
thing to deal with, and
Yeah.
so they're just terrified, I think, until they learn.
Yep.
Oh, it's not going to be like that. It's not going to be like the
Right.
movies.
And we always are a big believer, and I don't know if you guys kind of tell your guests this too, that intention is everything. You know, going into something, if you're kind of that person that is going to dwell on the same thing over and over, that it's going to be negative, there's something going to be evil, and it's just, you know, that is the only thing that's in your heart, there's a chance that that's what's going to display, because that is your intention. And I think I happen to believe, and I don't know if you guys do too, but we can also manifest some things that some people believe are ghosts, but reality is it's our own manifestation of something completely different. And intention is way too important for that. So yeah, we're pretty, at least I am. I've kind of seen it a few times, but yeah, that's a whole nother tangent. But,
Right. I think I get.
Yeah.
So
Well, we'll have people that come on that do kind of come at it negative, and they're not getting any interaction at all. I mean, but the way we sort of look at it is, you know, the spirits, of course, I think are natural empaths. So they're sitting there, they can feel what these people are going, what you're saying with their intention and what they're bringing to this.
Exactly.
And I think a lot of the negative people, the spirits just don't even want to interact with. We notice the people with good positive energy. Oh man, you can't stop those rods from moving.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
absolutely.
Absolutely. It's just like in life. If you walk upon a person that's, you know, got a frown upon their face, you don't want to stand there and talk to them. You're going to go to the person smiling and that's happy. I mean, it's the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's like a spirit sitting there, you know, going, I'm not going to deal with this shithead. I mean, I'm going to have some fun with this guy over here, you know. Hey, they're at least having fun.
Yeah, right. I'm going to deal with this guy. This guy's a dick. I'm out of
Yeah,
here.
that guy's a dick. I don't know what his problem is. Oh, man. So Savannah, so we've been.
But I was trying to remember. I think it's been like 7 years we were down there.
Yeah,
and I wish we would have spent more time. We had flown into Savannah.
So we flew into Savannah, and we were doing
a road trip.
Yeah.
So we were only there for a couple days, but I wish we would have spent more time.
And I've been there a couple of times past that, but the couple of times that I was there was mainly in Hilton Head. I was doing some work. We love Savannah. I will say that especially in Forsyth Park, so I have that feeling usually, you know, when you're walking around somewhere, and that feeling in your gut that I always tell people, listen to your gut. It's trying to tell you something. Walking around Forsyth Park is it's like on overdrive. It is just, I feel like when you're walking around that park, that even if there wasn't a soul there, which is impossible because that place is so busy, but if there wasn't a soul there, you know you're not alone. It's just that feeling. And I know you guys do that. So talk to us a little bit about the setting of Savannah, why that has a unique appeal for you guys, especially being having a ghost tour.
Well, speaking of Forsyth Park, now Ty knows the dates. What year was the Forsyth Park started?
1854.
She's the brains behind the operation, you see.
So is this one.
1854. But what those grounds were used for originally is in World War I, World War II, Vietnam, the Korean War. It was used for military parade grounds there in Forsyth Park. And so I think some of that energy you're feeling is all that emotion that came from that, and to think about where these guys went off to and what they endured.
Okay.
As well as it was the edge of town. So the more Englishmen that came in, the more the indigenous were pushed back and back and back. So they spent a lot of time in the edge of town.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, there's a lot. In fact, that's part of what we go through Forsyth Park on one of our tours. And there's a lot of energy there. People's actually call it full body apparitions in that park.
I'm not surprised in the least.
Yeah, especially around
well, we stayed on the edge
Yeah.
in one of those Victorian homes. It was an Airbnb at the time, and it was just one night. And then we walked through Forsyth Park, and there was an Italian restaurant on the street over from it. I know that we went to. And we went by the fountain and everything, but that's all I really remember.
Yeah, it was across the street from a very frightening, non-ghostly hotel. It looked like there was a lot of interesting folks that would go into that place. But yeah, that was, you're right, that was there. Now, of course, a lot of people will know that, you know, it was the Forrest Gump Park, and of course the bench isn't there and all that, you know, Hollywood magic stuff. But I know when I was there, the place that I felt the most was around the fountain, and not directly at the fountain, but there was a few walkways that kind of intersect before they come towards the fountain. Man, just walking around there, I just felt like I definitely felt like I was walking in the past of some people that had been there before.
Well, now that's very curious. I'm curious to which path it was now. Some tour companies will tell you that during the yellow fever of 1820, that there was a big crypt and there's a lot of bodies buried right underneath that fountain. It's not true. That's not
Oh,
true.
okay.
However, one of those pathways does lead over to what was the old Candler Hospital. And there is a tunnel coming off of there that does run into the park a little bit, where they did literally stack those bodies during the yellow fever epidemic until they could bury them. So I'm wondering if that might be one of the pathways you went down.
I'm sure it
Not
was.
only
We
that, the old Candler Hospital, the parking lot right in front of it, that is a pauper cemetery. That's where they buried the people who didn't have the family members didn't pick them up. They buried them right there in front of that hospital. So there's an unmarked cemetery right there. And so there's a lot of things going on right there.
That's
no
interesting.
wonder.
Well, you asked about Savannah. That's one of the things we'll tell you in Savannah. We're a city built on our dead, and you're never far from a corpse. That's just not, we're not just talking out of our butts. We really mean that.
Sure.
Yeah.
There's a case for unmarked cemetery. On that same, that's one of our tours. On that same tour, we go to another unmarked cemetery that was an African American slave time cemetery. And it's
Okay.
actually a huge square. That's a cemetery.
Wow.
In Savannah, you'll find in the squares, you'll find corpses buried there and they'll tell you that it's buried there on the plaques. And so you find this all over Savannah.
Yeah.
And so Savannah's literally built on our dead.
Yeah.
Everywhere you turn, there's an old cemetery.
But I'm also going to say this, and this is kind of cheeky, but Savannah is a city, but it still has that small town mentality.
Oh,
And
yeah.
everybody knows everybody's business,
Yeah.
especially the upper crust of society. They're very cliquish, and they know each other very well. So watching strangers and what they're doing. So when you're visiting Savannah, you're a stranger. So all the spirits' eyes are on you because of trying to figure out why are you here? What are you doing?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Especially, no offense as Northerners, and also, not being true Southerners, but especially that. If you're not true Southerner, they have eyes on you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely have eyes on you. You kind of have to earn their trust and earn their
Absolutely.
respect.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense because knowing that area, and it's not even there, even when you're just below the Mason-Dixon, there's a lot of Southern people who take it very, very serious. I mean, being from Arizona and California somewhat, I was stationed at, Virginia Beach. Sorry, it took me a second. And we were walking around and I had some young lady stop me. Of course, I say young lady. At the time, I was like 23 and she was probably 20. She stopped me and said, "Where are you from?" And I said, "I'm from Tucson." She goes, "Oh, well, you just must be one of them Yankees." I had never been called that before in my life.
Especially
I'm like,
being
Yankee?
from Southern Arizona,
Yeah,
it's
I'm
just so funny.
From Tucson. How can I be a Yankee?
I know. I'm like, no, I'm from the West. I'm from the
Yeah.
West. I'm from the Southwest or the West.
That's right. That's right.
I'm not a Northerner. I'm a Westerner.
That's
Well, did you
right.
guys happen to visit Colonial Park Cemetery when you visited Savannah?
No, we didn't.
We weren't we were going through this whole long road trip, so we were leaving and going up to South Carolina, then North Carolina, then Virginia. So we were only there for a day and a half the first day, and then a day at the very end to go back to the airport. So we didn't get to tour the whole city. We will be back.
Oh, well, yeah,
because
we're
we
coming
definitely-
back. Yeah.
I loved it.
I was going to say with the Colonial Park Cemetery, talking about the Yankee thing, Colonial Park Cemetery is in downtown Savannah. But other tour companies love to tell the story that when Sherman came to Savannah, of course, he didn't burn Savannah down. And the Northern troops, this much is true, stayed in the cemetery area. Well, some tour companies love to tell people that while the Northern troops were there, they just destroyed all kind of headstones, desecrated epitaphs. They broke into tombs. They took clothing off bodies. There's no historical evidence of any of that ever happening. And I share that on my tours. I go, as much as we'd like to blame the damn Yankees, we can't, because the truth is that cemetery went through 3 different churches before it wound up in the city of Savannah's hands. And when city of Savannah originally had it, they used that cemetery as a dump site. So
Okay.
that's what happens to the different tombstones and whatnot.
But I can
But yeah, so that's the Southern mentality. Want to blame the Yankees for everything.
But I mean, say living here and speaking to the spirits here than like in New Mexico or in Arizona and Colorado. Here, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, thank you, sir, thank you, ma'am. Even with the spirits, not just with the living,
Really?
go a long, long way. Some of our guests will just be like, "Plant my rods," and I'm like, "Sir, could you point my rods?"
Yeah.
Politeness goes a long way.
Of course it does.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Yeah, and it's funny because I think a lot of people forget that when you get into this that, well, obviously they're from the past because they're no longer with us.
They were still human beings.
But they were human beings, and you have to think about, especially being in Savannah, you think about that good old boy thing, that whole, how things were done, respect. And, there was a way you addressed people back then. There was a way that you did things. And I think, especially for seasoned paranormal investigators, sometimes I think we get a little complacent on things like that. And you're like, okay, maybe part of the reason I'm not getting any activity is I'm walking around here like an idiot, talking like I'm talking to somebody that's, from our era. And they're like, of course they're not going to talk to you. I think you're freaking crazy. So you change it up a little bit,
One of my favorite things on ghost shows that always cracks me up, they say, "Is that you?" Tons of them say that. Is that you? It's like, what is that? Who are you talking?
Right, exactly.
Or you can be like me and speak out my mouth when I'm not supposed to, and a spirit just totally shuts me down.
Yeah.
We were getting great action. The guests were getting great action. I said something to one of our really big
Southern gentlemen.
Yes, but he's a really big person in Savannah. He was living, still the very
still very influential.
Yes, and still very much likes to be talked about in a positive manner. But you say anything negative about him, I mean, the rods stopped. The EMFs went back to green.
Quit. Yeah,
everything. He did not have it. The next time we went there, he had to slow, but he would kind of talk to me to kind of work with me, but wouldn't. I had to and I had to bring him a gift. And I had the third or fourth time, I finally had to ask him, "Do you forgive me?" And he was like, "Sure."
You had been shunned.
Yeah. Well, what we can say who it is Jim Williams of Midnight in the Garden, Good and Evil fame at the Mercer.
Okay.
Yeah. If you're familiar with that story, that's who it was. And someone made a comment that, the other homosexual men, wealthy men in Savannah, older wealthy men in Savannah, was very upset with Jim when he killed Danny, the 21-year-old, because they are all waiting their turn for Danny. And she said that out loud to a group, and Jim wasn't having that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, literally, the rod stopped. The EMS were going off. They just dead.
They shut it down.
Yeah, it took a couple of times, but she did bring him a cigar because he is known to smoke a lot of cigars. Brought him cigars.
I wanted to bring him flowers. That's what he wanted. My husband said, "No, we're bringing him a cigar."
But that night, we asked, "Do you forgive her?" And the rods were being active, and they said yes, they forgive her.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice.
I was like, "Oh gosh, I pissed off Jim."
Jim, he was known for his Christmas parties, but if you ticked him off, you weren't invited to his parties no more. So we worried Jim could hold a grudge.
Yes, he could
forever.
hold a grudge.
Yeah. Well, it seems like it.
That's funny.
That is so interesting.
So, with having a lot of visitors, do you find that? I guess my question would be: obviously, they come from all different walks of life, right? You get people in from out of state, out of town, maybe out of country. Do you find that since you deal so much with the public, that having come from different regions, different parts of the world, do they all generally look at that experience the same way? I'm always curious about that because, you talk about, like us, we're all a little bit jaded in the States. We've even in the UK, we all see these shows, we all go through this thing, and then whether we like to or not, we all come with these kind of preconceived notions of what's going to happen or how you deal with certain things. Now that would be if somebody who's seasoned, but then you look at somebody who may not, maybe from a completely total different part of the world. Do you often find that those two experiences intersect, or are they usually uniquely different?
Well, what I found is European people who come over and visit and join the tour, they seem to be open to just about anything. I mean,
I agree.
yeah,
Yep.
they're like, whatever, we'll just go along with it. We're here. Just tell us what to
Mhm.
do. We'll go right along with it. And so that's real fun. Now we found that people from Hispanic countries,
Mhm.
they tend to be a little more standoffish towards everything.
Okay.
They, until they start feeling comfortable, and some of them never do get to that comfort level.
Mhm.
So that's some of the things we found now. Um, and also, well, you say different parts of the world, but we also found, if you have somebody that, let's say, from different denominations and religion,
Mhm.
there's some, that just think that she's a witch and we're evil. And
Right,
then,
yeah.
so you have that aspect of it. And those are kind
Mhm.
of people go, didn't you read our thing before you signed up? Anyway,
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I'm surprised they're even on the tour, honestly.
how did you get here?
Yep.
You took wrong turn somewhere.
Yep.
But as far as in general, what we find is that most people understand, they've read our description, they understand what they're getting into. And what we found overall is that they're just amazed that, many times we'll hear that we thought this was going to be really cheesy, but we were glad that it wasn't. And it was, you guys taking this seriously. We actually had
Mhm.
interactions that were very interesting and convincing. And so that's what we find overall, no matter where the people come from, they just seem to really enjoy the fact that we're sincere in what we do. And we honestly try to make sure everyone has a good time.
Yeah.
And within
makes
that,
sense.
we just find it doesn't matter where they come from.
Right.
We're all people, and and with our beliefs, we're told to love everyone, and so
That's
Absolutely.
right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So have you guys had any of the big paranormal investigators or something like that? Have you ever spotted one on your tour, or they've
no,
been
not yet. Now we're fairly new, however,
Right.
Mhm.
in Savannah, a lot of them do come here.
Yes, they
Yeah.
do. Which is why I asked.
Yeah. Now
Yeah.
we would not be opposed to it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be great.
Yeah.
One of our
Um,
partners went on a tour with some
yeah, with
some guys.
well, he went on tour with the Ghost Brothers a few
Oh,
months.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I gave him 3 cards. I said, make sure they get those cards and they got a free
Yep.
tour. Be sure to let them know.
Well, Dalen's still very, very active. So is Juwan.
He's in Savannah a lot.
Yeah,
isn't
I
he?
know that Dalen's in
Mhm.
Savannah quite a bit. Juwan was up here not that long ago. But yeah, I know that Dalen is literally constantly making content on his graveyard thing. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah.
Mhm.
Um,
We have an iFit machine, a
Yeah.
treadmill,
Okay.
and they have the videos, and they always do like a Halloween version, like right around
Mhm.
October. And Dalen did one in Savannah in one
Yeah.
of the houses. You have to
Yeah.
like walk through, and it's an entertainment thing,
Yeah.
of course, where he's like
Okay.
investigating. But I thought that was interesting. He's always in Savannah on those things, which
For
I
sure.
think is funny.
Wait, let me understand it. It's like something you're exercising with, but
Oh,
like you're
yes.
Yeah,
walking through the
so
whole
it's a regular treadmill, but it has a screen, and
Mhm.
so for most of the year, it's just people taking you like outdoors to walk up a mountain or whatever it is to train you, and your treadmill moves up and down or goes
Okay.
faster. They're trainers, but during Halloween they always like follow certain people. So like Dalen was one of them one year, and he's just walking through the streets of Savannah or inside a house, and he's investigating. And
Huh.
they like he thinks he hears something in the house or something, the treadmill will speed up and be like, "Oh, you need to run away." It's for
Yeah.
entertainment purposes,
It
but
is.
it is
Sure,
fun.
yeah.
Yeah.
We don't run away.
That sounds
we
pretty
run
cool.
towards stuff.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Away. Because when they first came out, they were so cute. They ran away from everything.
Yep.
Yeah, I love watching them. They're
When they
awesome.
first came
Yeah.
out, they were so scared. They ran away from everything. It was so cute.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, I think it takes a while to develop that, run to it. But
Mhm.
Yeah.
heck, there's even times when I'm like, okay, I really got to talk myself down a little bit, where things start getting a little hectic. We were in the Glore Psychiatric Museum, and it was there was an attachment. I think there was something trying to attach itself to me, or just trying to get information. But I was the only person it would talk to or interact with, and I could hear him in my head before I could hear him anywhere else. So it was very difficult, and I'll admit I was a bit scared then. And it wasn't like, oh, scared. It was just like I'm very vulnerable and I know it, So I was like, okay, I got to take a step back. But anyway, quick question. So as far as devices, you guys don't carry. Do you ever notice anybody on your tour? I mean, what do we got? I don't even know where my cell phone is, but you get the Ghost Tube apps and all that. Do you ever notice any of them using that?
Well, yeah, and we let people know they're free to use apps, bring any of their own equipment. They're free to take pictures, photograph, video. We don't care what they do. You know, they're having a good time. Go ahead with it. Now with the phone apps, you know, there's a lot of them that are really, you know, kind of sus.
Yes.
Yeah,
But,
exactly.
you brought up Ghost Tube. I will say that I will vouch for the SLS Ghost Tube app. We had an interesting experience with that, again, in Colonial Park Cemetery. We were there, we'd having a date day, so of course she wants to go to the cemetery. So we go to the
Of course.
cemetery.
As one does.
Walk
Yeah.
around. And I just got the app, so I'm just playing with it, you know. And, you know, it's picking up all these things that, you know, it's just picking up trees and whatnot. And,
Of course.
Right, yeah.
but behind this one bench, there were two stick figures that looked like they were boxing one another.
Hmm.
And I've called Tyler, said, hey, take a look at this. Looks like they're boxing. And I just being a smart aleck, I said, hey, you guys cut that out. And they did.
Really?
It started,
Really?
looked like they turned towards us, stood towards us for like 10 seconds, and turned around and started boxing again. And that's when I was like, well, maybe this app might have a little something to it. So
Right, yeah.
Absolutely.
That's crazy.
Yeah, we
No, people are so divided on the SLS
yeah,
stuff. And I haven't really made up my mind yet because it will try to map out things, but
yeah, weird things.
sometimes,
Yeah.
yeah.
and what we tend to do, and we will run ITC apps, so like, you know, Ghost Tube and things like that. But we'll also run an EVP or a
Something
voice
at the same
recorder.
time, yeah.
We're doing something in parallel. So if we get something off of one of the Ghost Tubes and we're really not getting anything else off anything of the other devices, I usually think, okay, that was just an artifact or just something that's not legitimate. But there are some times where in fact, we just did an investigation at the University of Arizona, and we were at Old Main. And at Old Main, I'm there with my sister who's actually filming us, and I've got Nicole next to me, and we kick it on, and it literally says, "Who is she?" And there was only two females and nobody else around me, and I'm like, "That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That is really interesting." And we got a lot of interesting conversation out of it. Won't bore you guys with it, but it was really interesting.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, no.
Yeah. Well, was the I think it wasn't the Vox app. I think it was just a regular Ghost Tube.
We haven't gone over any of that
Yeah,
stuff
we haven't
yet,
gone over it. But anyway,
I don't remember.
but yeah, we had some interesting stuff come out of that, and there was a general overall feeling. I usually try to tell people, don't rely on just, you know, one particular thing. You got to look at everything all together, and if it all tells you a story, then you probably got something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is
Well,
interesting
that's
that
the-
responded to you though, that they
Yeah.
stopped.
Well,
That's
the
good.
thing. With anything you use, no matter what it is, what I'm looking for is intelligent interactions.
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
an EMF might go off by itself just for unknown reasons, but
Right.
you know, if we're standing in front of Jim Williams' house and I go, Mr. Jim, can you please come over here and set this meter off and let us know you're here? And it's been sitting on green this whole time.
Mm-hmm.
I ask, and all of a sudden it starts spiking. Well, that's pretty interesting.
Yes,
Absolutely.
it is. Absolutely.
You know, we talk about using the mag light. Yeah, it's randomly going to come on and off by itself.
Mhm.
But if I say, can you please turn it on? And I'll turn it off, and it does it as requested. Well, that's something that we might want to look at a little bit.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
We'll have them cross, but then we'll have them bring them back centered,
Right.
and then bring them back centered.
You
Yep.
know,
Yeah.
Which you wouldn't get that. Yeah.
Or
So we-
left over right, or
Yeah.
right over left.
we want
or-
intelligent interactions, you know, because people
Right.
holding rods, you know, they're going to move a little bit and they're going to cross and whatnot just by
Oh,
the
yeah.
movement. But if we ask,
Absolutely.
please cross, no, uncross, now point to the left. Well,
Mm-hmm.
that's some intelligent interaction going on there.
Yes.
Or
Yes.
some has claimed that, you know, we're just power of suggestion.
Mhm.
You know, I wish if we had that kind of power of suggestion, we need to go into another field of work. 'Cause I'm sure
No kidding.
Right.
uh, we actually know a guy that's an actual parapsychologist.
Okay.
Fat is one of the owners of the company we've last worked for. Great company. You know, we're not bad mouth. We're still friends
Sure.
with them. We're going to have dinner
Yeah.
next month. But he saw what goes on when we're doing our tours. And he suggested that maybe we're moving the rods with our minds.
Okay.
And I said, well, okay, well, that doesn't make it any less supernatural.
No, absolutely
No.
not.
I said, but
That's
however, we
correct.
truly think we're interacting with spirits because if we knew we were moving things from our minds, we would be in Las Vegas hitting 00 on the roulette
You
wheel.
betcha.
Yes.
I was just thinking that. We would let it ride all in
Yes.
every single time.
I
Tap
would
into that
own Vegas
power.
at this point.
Yeah.
I mean,
Dude, airport, put it on an airplane type.
who needs Rain Man or the guy from The Hangover? We'll just go there and let it go all in.
00.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I mean, we've had odd things like constantly pop up on like the Ovilus.
Oh, yes.
They constantly call him a pastor, a preacher.
Yeah.
Yeah, a reverend. And they've said for me different words as well.
But this has happened, if it happened once or twice, that's just coincidence. This has happened numerous times.
Right.
Which in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, is it that demon following us around?
Yeah, because it's not even on our Ovilus. It's like
Right, on other people's.
on other people's.
equipment. It's like,
But
I mean, there's always that possibility it's trying to get back at you, but
oh yeah, it's always. I mean, for me, I think they like to hang around. We all have our own demons.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
That one wasn't a big baddie, but it was a bigger one than the other ones. But I still think they're always chirping. They're always trying to.
My theory is, we all have demons. I mean, they're kind of assigned to us. They're there to tempt us to see how well our faith's going, that sort of thing, build our faith up. But there is what I like to call extras. And the extras are the ones that come in that Ty calls them big baddies, and I call them the extras.
Okay.
And so what we experienced, Tabby was an extra or a big baddie. And so, regular demons, that's just a part of life. But we got to be very careful about the big baddies or the extras because those are the ones who come in and cause the havoc.
You bet.
Yeah.
And they like I said, they constantly like to chirp. The more you think you're better, the more you think you're, walking a good path and doing what you need to, the more they're going to try and break it down. They're going to
absolutely
pull strings to let it all ravel.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Mike, Ty, I mean, look at that. We're already zooming right through.
It's always amazing to me.
It is amazing.
Whose world are we going to pull this off? And it's like, it's time already.
Well, I know that our audience was going to want to know more about it. And I'm sure some of them will be going through Savannah. And I know that we for sure will be going back. I just don't know when.
And we will join the tour.
Yes, we will.
Because I'm very interested.
Yes, just let us know.
Okay,
sure.
Absolutely.
But how do they get a hold of you and what's the best way for them to kind of get involved in what you're doing?
Hold on, let me see. Let me grab. Found this is the easiest way. If I can get it off the doggone mirror. Let's see if I can.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see. Can you see that okay?
Sure
yeah,
can.
we can see it.
Yeah.
All right, that's Spirit Experience. We're on the Generation X Paranormal podcast here. So it's Experience with no X. We're Gen Xers also. So, everything's got to be a big X, right?
That's
So,
right.
yeah, feel free to get in touch with us through our website. It's or Google. Yeah, we have a QR code if anybody wants to scan that. It'll take you to all our link feeds right there. So we have all that. But yes, Spirit Experience, just type that in without an E into Google and we should come up.
That's awesome.
And I'll attach all your links when the episode comes out so they can find you easily.
And I think I just shared our phone number and emails on here. We don't mind if that's shared either. That's perfectly fine.
Okay,
got it.
And you have 2 tours, correct?
Correct. We have the Monterey Square Tour, which we offer every Thursday and Saturday, and we have the Wright Square Tour we offer every Wednesday and Friday. That way we can give people variety because thankfully we've had people to go on one tour and want to come back the next night and go on the next tour. So
that's good.
And then we offer a private tour and they can pick from either one of the squares.
Right.
We're thinking about adding another one for 2025, but we also do private investigations at homes as well as business investigations at businesses.
Awesome.
Oh, that's awesome.
One of the big places here in Savannah is actually on our tour, 1790. We're actually investigating that this Sunday. So we're looking forward.
Great.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great.
We always tell our guests, anybody wants to reach out to us, wants to talk about the paranormal, scared about it, have questions about it, we'd love to talk to them. We don't know the answers. We have people that know more than us sometimes, and we'll reach out to them and find the correct answers. Because we
Perfect.
definitely don't want to misinform people.
Right.
That's
Right,
good.
yeah.
I couldn't have said
So
it
we
better
refer
myself.
people to a lot of different people a lot.
Yeah.
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 Yes.
I
That's right.
understand the feeling, believe me. Well, listen, guys, thank you so much for being on the show. We had a great time.
Yeah, we did. Thank you so
and
much.
anybody who's in the area or just going to be in the area, please look them up. And I think you guys have a great time.
Thank you so much.
Thank
y'all.
you.
It's been our pleasure.
Hey, thanks, Mike. Thanks, Ty. They were a lot of fun to talk to.
Yeah, they were a lot of fun to talk to. I bet that tour is just awesome.
Oh, and it just, you can tell it's a lot of fun.
Oh,
A
yeah.
lot of fun to be with.
Yeah.
So, guys, if you are in Savannah, you got to check them out.
Or traveling in the nearby area. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because they also provide the history, which I like, because there is no haunting without the history.
That's right.
How many people have said that? I mean, I
All-
believe that fully.
well, that's why you do what you do, and I do what I do, because
That's why I do the history.
yeah,
Just-
because if
yeah,
I had to do the history, guys, we would be in real trouble. Just is what it is.
you would. Sorry.
Anyway. But no, guys, thank you so much for being on. I just think that they're set up really well for success. They're in probably arguably, I mean, I know they say it on their website, but you have the big ones, of course, like New Orleans and a few other places, but Savannah's right up there. It's got a
Yeah.
lot of activity. And kind of what Mike said, it's built on their dead, which is kind of freaky in a way, but
Yeah, but most places are. We just don't think about it.
yeah,
You know?
it's cool though.
Yeah. Well, and I love the fact that they're taking paranormal equipment and teaching people how
Yes.
to use it properly.
Absolutely.
That is so important.
Yeah.
And we've been on multiple like ghost tours, and they've been good. I
Yeah.
mean, they give you the history, they give you the sightings. You walk through, but you kind of like feel like you're just in a group and nobody sees you, and you just kind of
Emotions.
yeah. I mean, while it's a good experience, you're also paying a lot for these tours.
Sure.
To have that, small group and that one-on-one, and I mean, that's awesome. And I commend both of you for doing that. That's really cool. So
100%.
mhm.
Well, guys, we've got their links up here for you and put them right here,
Yeah, and I will post them.
and we'll post them on our socials.
But if you want to check them out right now, www.spiritxperience.com.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. That's what you got to say it.
X.
X.
You got a lisp like X.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Thanks for tuning in to Generation X Paranormal. Remember, all editing is done in-house, and we're a self-funded podcast, so your support truly makes a difference. Like, subscribe, and follow us on all socials to stay connected. Special thanks to Eric Cooley for creating our music. And don't forget to check out our Patreon for exclusive content and ways to help us keep the show going. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring the unexplained.